I knocked on the door, and to my surprise, somebody actually answered the door.
Hello? Can we speak? I would like to check a child in the daycare.
Why?
Can I speak to a manager? Where can I get paperwork to file for my son? I wanted to put my son Joey in daycare.
And after a few questions, the lady went silent.
Looks like little Joey Shirley ain't going to daycare here. And now where are we going?
Now we're going to Sweet Angel Child Care.
We're in the middle of a strip mall here inside of this neighborhood.
In fiscal year 2025, this facility, which has its license for 74 kids, was paid $1.26 million in tax money. And there are no kids, and all the facilities are the same way, all of them.
Let's see if anyone opens.
Yeah, let's see.
Once again, I tried to find a spot for my son Joey, and they would not open the door.
I want to put my son Joey in daycare. Cuz I need a spot to put my son Joey.
Yes.
Is this your daycare center?
No, I work there. What's happened?
I just want to put a child in daycare, but all the daycare centers seem to be closed. No one's opening the doors.
You work here?
I was, yeah. What's happened?
Where are the kids?
Yeah?
It says it's licensed for 74 children. Right here, state of Minnesota. Where are the kids? They got paid $1.26 million in fiscal year 2025. It says they have a capacity for 74 children.
When?
Where are the kids? Right here. State of Minnesota website. You work here and you don't know?
I don't know. I was there before. I don't know what's going on.
Were there any kids when you worked here?
He's there. Kids there. What's
How
happened?
many?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah.
You worked here. Okay, well then you're not of any help.
Can I put my son in a daycare here?
No, I don't know.
Can I speak to someone?
No, I don't know.
No? Yeah, I would like to see if I can put my son Joey here.
Who's your son, Joey?
My son Joey. Can I check out daycare center?
No! You're a liar. I'm the owner.
Here we go, back with a Fox News alert. The DOJ confirms to Fox News that FBI and HSI agents are currently serving 22 court-approved search warrants in the Minneapolis area this morning in relation to federal fraud investigations. One of those locations is the infamous Quality Learning Center, which you see here. Fox will be covering this story all morning long. A big break for the DOJ. Now,
Hi, what's up? Great news. Just great news. Not that long ago, an independent journalist, Nick Shirley, I did a video about him a while ago. He went to Minnesota and he uncovered a lot of fraud, Somali fraud, that the Somalis there were just stealing from the taxpayers of Minnesota. So much money. Like, they say that there was hospice and daycares, but when you go there, it was nothing. It was just a slush fund. And it got so bad that, for starters, they try to unalive Nick Shirley a lot of times, but that won't stop it. Like, no. Like, once people see it, they can't unsee it. And no amount of trying to cover it back up is gonna stop it. And now people thought it just went away. No, the FBI is on it now. And it's to the point where Tim Walz, the former, well, no, he's still governor. He's not going for re-election because he can't win. This scandal is too messed up. But what was really messed up was this was a guy who could have been the vice president. What the H? Democrats are a scam. So yeah, now the Somalis are getting a taste of what they deserve. Go ahead, take a look.
I'm just grateful that you're reporting it. And the reason that it's getting reported is because Donald Trump, President Trump, finally made this a national issue when he sent out a truth a couple weeks ago. We've been trying to sound the alarm in Minnesota for more than 3 years. Everybody's focused right now on $1 billion plus in fraud that has been stolen from Minnesota taxpayers, and a lot of it allegedly has been sent to al-Shabaab back in Somalia, a terrorist group. But you know what we're not talking about today? Do you realize that, it's not that all Somalis are committing crimes, but 80% of the crimes being committed in the Twin Cities in Minnesota are being committed by Somalis. And by the way, the FBI has been investigating Somali gangs in the Twin Cities now for months. I am grateful that President Trump has raised this to a national issue. This is it's kind of like a small version of what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were doing at our southern border for the last 4 years. Tim Walz is as corrupt as and incompetent as the day is long. You got $1 billion of fraud. You got the largest fraud case pandemic fraud case in the country.
And a Fox News alert also in Minnesota. The convicted ringleader of one of the state's biggest fraud schemes is speaking to Fox News from behind bars. Now, she believes that the scam was no surprise to local Democratic leaders, and she's naming names. She spoke to Alexis McAdams. Hi, Alexis.
Hey, Dana. Yeah, so everywhere you look in the state of Minnesota, right, there seems to be another fraud scam. So this one involves Amy Bach. She's a Minnesota woman convicted of fraud for taking taxpayer money that was meant to feed hungry kids. But listen to this. Bach tells me the real issue here is the state of Minnesota, which she says kept giving scammers your taxpayer money even after they were flagged as fraudsters.
I have to believe that the governor's office and Keith Ellison's office were aware of this. They've said they were involved in helping the FBI. They've said they were made aware. But apparently I'm scary, so they couldn't do anything.
So Bach ran this nonprofit called Feeding Our Future. You might have heard of it. It was one of dozens convicted in this $250 million scam. You can see her mugshot there. Prosecutors say this group set up sham restaurants. They pretended they were making these meals. They got paid by the state for those meals, but they just pocketed the cash. Bach, who's looking at 30 years behind bars, tells me the state signed off on those businesses, not her.
It all went through a process. They were all approved. They were all paid by the state, yet all the fingers are being pointed at me.
And it's not just Bach. Whistleblowers told a congressional committee Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison there ignored warnings for years as millions of dollars and millions were stolen on their watch. Congress is investigating a long list of massive fraud schemes in the state. It's hard to keep up. Prosecutors say it's led to at least $9 billion in fraud, Dana, and counting. Congress also asking why the Attorney General there would meet with a group of Somali fraudsters, which were under FBI investigation in 2021. The group can be heard in an audio clip given to us by Bach's lawyer offering to donate to his campaign if he can help them get their funding flowing again. Ellison denies any wrongdoing here. He slammed Bach in a statement to Fox, calling her a liar and manipulator, adding now she's on a media tour to deflect her guilt onto others instead of finally taking responsibility for this fraud scheme that she ran. So we reached out to Governor Walz too, Dana. He didn't get back to us. House Republicans say it's just getting started. They want to subpoena Walz and Ellison because they say they're responsible for ripping off American taxpayers.
I'm just grateful that you're reporting it, and the reason that it's getting reported is because Donald Trump, President Trump, finally made this a national issue when he sent out a truth a couple weeks ago. We've been trying to sound the alarm in Minnesota for more than 3 years. Everybody's focused right now on $1 billion plus in fraud that has been stolen from Minnesota taxpayers, and a lot of it allegedly has been sent to al-Shabaab back in Somalia, a terrorist group. But you know what we're not talking about today? Do you realize that, it's not that all Somalis are committing crimes, but 80% of the crimes being committed in the Twin Cities in Minnesota are being committed by Somalis. And by the way, the FBI has been investigating Somali gangs in the Twin Cities now for months. I am grateful that President Trump has raised this to a national issue. This is it's kind of like a small version of what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were doing at our southern border for the last 4 years. Tim Walz is as corrupt and incompetent as the day is long. You got $1 billion of fraud. You got the largest fraud case pandemic fraud case in the country.
Yeah, it's insane. I think the Somalis actually thought that this was going to go away. Well, what do you expect? Their average IQ is below 70, so they're not that smart. And it's gotten even so bad that Eleanor, their mascot, is starting to freak out and it is just disappearing. Yeah, she's afraid. Well, not only is she afraid of fraud, she's afraid of getting deported because the nation that she ran away from. By the way, she didn't run away because she was oppressed. She ran away because she was the oppressor. Her father was a dictator there, and the family and a lot of the people of that country won her back for revenge, which is unfair. And if you think about it, it is fair. She lived off the backs of the slaves of those nations, come to this country and complains she has no right to be here. She hates America.
The last time I spoke to you, you said that I was stupid for asking you about your financial disclosure, but there's some discrepancies on there. Would you like to explain that? How did you make such a big mistake on it?
Absolutely, you're stupid for asking me anything.
I am?
Yes.
Well, what about the American people who are wondering how you made such a big mistake?
I have explained to the American people.
What's the explanation?
I have given them the explanation.
Do you want to tell our viewers? Because
I don't want to tell you jack shit.
Oh.
How about that?
Okay.
Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
Hi, Congresswoman Omar. You were just talking about how Trump's economy has failed the American people, but I think the American people really want to know how you went from a negative $65,000 before coming into Congress to over $30 million in just 7 years.
My disclosure is public now.
Yeah, it is. And so a lot of people now are looking into that and finding S. Crew Winery, a winery that doesn't actually seem to exist. Is that a real winery, or?
Do you all actually look at and read things, or do you just ask silly questions?
Well, it's listed in the financial disclosure, so can you explain it? Because we have a lot of questions about it, and things just aren't adding up. There's no real phone number. There's no real location.
Why did you want to buy some wine?
Probably not from you, to be honest. Recently stated that the American people should be afraid of the white man. They should be fearful of the white man.
I never said that.
Yeah, you're on video saying it.
Our country should be more fearful of white men across our country because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country.
I did not.
Yes, you.
Again, this is like what I said. You need to prepare yourself because you can't continue embarrassing yourself like this.
So I'm just a liar.
What I was quoting was an actual study done by the FBI.
Okay, thank you.
Prepare next time.
All right, thank you, Congresswoman.
When you look at the increase in your household wealth tied to your husband's companies, you understand why that raises questions for people watching from that outside.
Yeah, but that's again one of the. It's their saying, right? Like there is no wealth increase. If you look at my husband's income, it's almost non-existent.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
They said you reported a net worth between $6 million and $30 million, and they said your 2023 disclosure was roughly between $40,000 and $250,000.
Yeah, but they're not net worths. They're like the asset things for the companies, and so I don't know what percentage of it my husband actually has investment in. Like that's not, you know what I mean? It's not a full picture of the numbers in the way that it is presented in the document, because in the documents we have to do ranges and we have to like report in a way that is not detailed.
Yeah, not even Charlemagne is buying her fake BS. Well, probably because it's easy to tell that she's lying because, low IQ because of inbreeding. I swear, I cannot stand these disgusting muzzly creatures in our nation. We really need to get them the heck out. And, like, Christ, I can't stand them at all. Again, deport all the muzzies. Because all they want to do is bring over they want to make our country like theirs, which would be an S-hole. Which would not even work out because then Venezuela and Argentina would just be in charge. But again, these stupid muzzies. And by the way, don't you think for a second that it was her who came up with this. There is no way that a low IQ muzzy, whose average IQ is lower than 70 because of years of inbreeding, caused this. They didn't cause this. They didn't cause a great replacement. The white man caused this. That's why Tim Walz need to go to jail. That's why his AG need to go to jail. These muzzies were just pawns used by the white man. It makes me wonder what they were going to do at the end. Probably what they did with the people who helped start the Chinese Revolution. Look that up. But to end with this, I'm going to go through the Bible and this one really does make sense. depravity of false teachers. But these, like natural brutes, beasts, made to be caught and destroyed, speak evil of the things they do not understand, and will utterly perish in their own corruption, and will receive the weight of unrighteousness as those who count it pleasure to carouse in the daytime. They are spots of and blemishes, corrosing in their own deception, while they feast with you, having eyes full of adultery, and that cannot cease from sin, enticing, unstable souls. They have a heart tranced in convert practice, and are accused children. They have forsaken the right way and gone astray, following the way of Balaam, the son of Begor, who loved the ways of unrighteousness. But he has rebuked for his iniquity a dumb donkey speaking with a man's voice, retaining the madness of the prophet. These are wells without water, clouds carried by tempest, for whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. Yeah, and that's just basically Muzzies. I'm going to be up front. They're evil. And that's been the Navigator Podcast. Thank you. Please come again. Don't be afraid to comment.